Over 16 years in the making, Bafana have their moment. Welcome back to the World Cup recap. We are now at the 2-week mark and the start of the third round of group games. Always the most exciting games, with both of them happening at the same time. All these kinds of knockout scenarios, especially now with the third place teams. Just so much to look out for, and also there's 6 games in one day. Like I said in my previous video, I may not go as in depth into each of these games, but what I will do is talk about the group in general at the end and just a breakdown of how everything played out, and then obviously where these teams go from here as far as knockouts and stuff. And with that as well, I'm going to be doing these a little bit different. Instead of doing these games in chronological order, I'm going to be doing it based on the order of the groups. So although Group B's games were the first games of today and Group A's games were the last games of the day, I'm actually going to flip it around because I think in the end it'll probably make things a little bit easier, especially when I talk about all the groups at once. But with that, we got to start off with Group A, South Africa against South Korea. Against all of the odds, South Africa actually did it. To think how much I was dogging on this team after their opening game against Mexico, which was a very, very poor showing from them. The fact that they managed to come back from that, they got a decent result against Czechia, obviously, but in this one, they had to come out and play for their lives, and that is exactly what they did. South Africa, unlike the first game where they were playing just extremely tentative, they didn't want to go for it. This game, they absolutely went for it. They full-on went out and outplayed the Koreans, something I thought had no chance of happening. And all they really needed was that one shot, which was delivered beautifully by Tapelo Maseko. Just brilliant bring down, left foot strike right in the bottom corner. Kim had no chance of saving that. And there, South Africa obviously did everything in their power to hold on to this. Korea was pushing very, very hard, but none of it was enough. And South Africa, man, they actually did it. They came into this tournament, again, one of the least talented teams in the tournament. They're ranked just 60th in the world. And for them to come out and deliver that kind of performance against a very, very strong Korea side, that is just extremely, extremely impressive. Huge shout out to Hugo Broosman. Again, I had a lot to say about him in the first game against Mexico, but what an amazing turnaround for this team and these group of players, man. They're making history for themselves, for their country, and the continent of Africa. They are the first of what will be many countries from the continent to secure their spot into the knockout stages. Now, as for South Korea, I'm very, very disappointed, man. With how they looked in that first game, I thought they'd be able to take that exciting style of play and apply it to their next 2 group games, but that absolutely was not the case. Even guys like Heung-min Son off the bench could not save this attack, which again, outside of that first game, was very lackluster. Evidently, that is what's costing them the spot in the knockout stage. I just felt like even though they had the majority of the possession of the game, they just were not getting enough great chances. They obviously had a few, don't get me wrong. They easily could have gotten one back in this one, especially in the later parts of the game. But again, this was a team that was supposed to be easily one of the top 2 teams to come out of this group. But the fact that they failed in this way, and now they're very much putting themselves at risk at that 3rd place spot with now a negative goal differential, it's just not a great set. And again, none that any of us expected. But again, fair play to South Africa, man. They absolutely came out to play. I don't think I've ever seen this quick of a turnaround of a team like that in a group stage, from how abysmal their first game was into what they are now. And if I was their opponent in the round of 32, I would not underestimate them. And luckily for South Africa, they already have the luxury of knowing their opponent in the round of 32, that obviously being Canada. We'll get into them a little bit later as well. But for South Africa, they are absolutely riding high based off of this. Again, no one expected them to really do anything even heading into this tournament, let alone after that first game. So again, incredible stuff from then Hugo Broos making those adjustments after the first game, where I feel like almost everyone in South Africa wanted his head. Now he's probably being cheered in the streets like an absolute hero. As again, South Africa, they finally have their moment. They get into the knockout stages. And again, they're definitely a team that you do not want to underestimate heading into that next stage. Now, in the other game in Group A, we had Czechia against Mexico. Knowing how the other game ended up playing out, Czechia with a win could have also put themselves in a great position to advance to the knockout stage. Unfortunately, though, they were just once again very, very poor. I know some people expected Czechia to do well in this group, considering they are the only European side, and knowing with European sides, they face probably more harder competition. They have more players playing in Europe that you would think that could maybe translate into more success. But this Czechia team in this World Cup has proved that that is absolutely not the case, especially against the Mexico side, where they're kind of in the opposite side of things right now, where a lot of their players are playing in Mexico or not really playing in Europe. But that doesn't matter because they've come out and they've absolutely played in these first 2 games. And today was easily their best performance yet. Well, the Czechs were able to maintain a 0-0 through the first half. The second half just blew wide open for the Mexicans. Starting off with Mateo Chavez making an unbelievable run from left back, cuts right in and gets Mexico on the board. And then just a few minutes later, we see the re-emergence of Julian Quiñones, the star of Mexico in the opening game. He puts one in as well to make it 2-0. Once again, very, very impressed by Quiñones, man. To me, he's easily been Mexico's standout player so far in this World Cup. Again, coming off the great season he had in Saudi Arabia, he has been a driving force for this attack. And as if things couldn't get any better for Mexico, with the way things were playing out, they were able to play their legend. Guillermo Memo Ochoa, a player that has appeared now in 6 World Cups, came on with just 10 minutes to go for what would be his last ever game. As he put it himself, he started his career in the Azteca and he ended his career in the Azteca. Just an incredible moment for a player that's been such a mainstay throughout these last 6 World Cups. It's like every time you watch Mexico play, he is the recognizable figure of that team. Not to mention some of his legendary performances. Obviously, that one against Brazil in 2014 sticks out the most. But even in this game, he was able to have an impact, as his goal kick in added time set up Mexico's 3rd goal of the night. The initial chance was stopped, but it was eventually put away by Alvaro Fidalgo. As the entire Azteca erupted, everyone's celebrating around Ochoa. There was like 2 different celebrations going on. Just amazing. As Mexico go 3 for 3, topping their group without conceding a single goal. From what I saw heading into this tournament, there was a lot of negativity surrounding this Mexican team. Everyone's saying that this is one of the weakest Mexico teams. They're going to succumb to the pressure. They don't have any standout players playing in Europe. And for them to come out of this group with not really any flaws or any bad things you could really take away from them so far in these 3 games, incredible stuff, man. Shout out to Javier Aguirre. He's gotten the best out of these players. And to speaking of the players as well, they have absolutely risen to the moment. A lot of people, again, thought that they would succumb to the pressure of them playing at a home World Cup, all that expectations and weight on their back, and yet they flourished through it. If anything, this team has really brought Mexican football back into the limelight. With new stars emerging as well, Gibraltar Moro was able to get a start in this one. But again, it's a new era in Mexican football, and this team completely ushering in the right way, bringing back that passion that we all love Mexican football for. As in the end, the group plays out like this. Mexico topping it with 9 points, as I just mentioned. South Africa bypassing South Korea for that final guaranteed spot. Obviously for South Korea, they'll have to hope for teams to kind of falter in their last games, and hopefully they can be one of those last teams in at 3rd place. And for Czechia, just a disappointing tournament, man. I didn't think this team would only manage to get 1 point throughout these games, but yeah. Now moving on to Group B's last 2 games, as we start off with the group decider between Switzerland and Canada. Both sides coming off blowout victories, positioning themselves at the top of this group. Canada obviously coming off a 6-0 bashing of Qatar in what was their first ever win at the World Cup. Obviously, that win did come with the price of Ismail Kone, his subsequent injury that would leave him out for the rest of the tournament. But it wasn't just him that they lost ahead of this game. It was also his midfield partner, Stefan Eustachio, who was not fit enough to start. He obviously would come on later in the game. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But Canada found themselves in the better position than Switzerland, where even a draw would be enough for them to win the group. On the other side, Switzerland coming off the 4-1 win against Bosnia, a game which was greatly benefited from them by their substitutes. Guys like Johan Manzambi and Ruben Vargas instantly made the positive changes that they needed to get over that one. And those 2 were rewarded today by head coach Murat Yakin with starts. And those 2 just kept it rolling, as Switzerland were just running circles around Canada throughout that entire first half. I was honestly shocked to see how slow and sluggish really Canada started. And I think that honestly comes down again to that midfield. Ismail Kone and Stefan Eustachio are such an important tandem to that team. When one of them is not there, it's noticeable. When both of them aren't there, we saw what it was in that first half and the first little bit of the second half as well. Canada were just not functioning the same. They did break things a little bit back after the hydration break, but again, they were lucky to not be 1-0 down. If it wasn't for the heroics of Maxime Crepeau with his huge one-on-one save, they would be down from the get-go. But again, Canada a little bit better towards the end of that first half, but still nothing really going. But early in that second half, again, lapse of focus, lapse of concentration, slow out the gates. Switzerland absolutely punished them for it. With, again, the duo of Johan Manzambi finding Ruben Vargas. Easy does it. Switzerland take the lead. And they obviously wouldn't stop there. Less than 10 minutes later, Manzambi once again on the receiving end of Briel Mbolo, making a great run in behind. Manzambi with not the best of shots, but a shot that Maxime Crepeau really should have had. Unable to keep that one out. Switzerland take a 2-0 lead. At this point, Canada, again, they're just in absolute ruins at this point, and it's only at this point when Jesse Marsch finally decides to bring on Stefan Eustáquio. And to no one's surprise, he completely changed the game. I'm sorry, why wasn't Stefan Eustáquio brought on right at the start of the second half? Because again, Canada came so slow out of there. Why wouldn't you make that change in the first place? If he was able to play the last 30 minutes of the game, he could be able to play the second half, surely. That is definitely a mistake on Jesse Marsch's part to not bring him in sooner than he did. And look where that got them. Down 2-0, now having to fight back and get to themselves. Another thing as well, Promise David. He didn't come on until the 74th minute, which I think was way too late. And again, we clearly saw that as well. Literally 2 minutes after he came on, he bags a brilliant goal to get Canada back within one. Credit to Nathan Saliba for this as well. His touch on that was absolutely insane. He is making a name for himself. Again, going back to what I said last video, obviously it was very difficult circumstances. On the topic of that, it was great to see Kone on the bench today, speaking to his players, just being a great presence that he always is. But for Nathan Saliba, what an opportunity this is for him, and he is absolutely taking it in stride. So far in the 1 half and 1 game that he's played in this tournament, he scored an unbelievable free kick and has had 2 assists. He is 100% going to be a big part of this Canada team in the future. Mark my words. But yeah, promise getting Canada back into it again. 15 minutes. They only needed 1 goal to salvage this thing and get themselves back in that first place spot so they could stay in Canada for the knockouts. We were just pouring it on at the end, kept winning the ball back. Again, Eustáquio able to make that difference, holding things down when first half and the beginning of the second, that was not the case. And we came very close in the end, man. Alistair Johnson, a couple of chances. Promise David as well, but nothing enough to get that all-important equalizer. Switzerland hold on for their lives, and they secure first place in that group. Again, it's a shame. I thought Canada, without they played in those last 20 minutes, they 100% deserved it. But the issue is, you got to play 90 minutes. You can't just play a great 20 minutes and think that that can get you somewhere. You got to be great for an entire game. And Canada was not that today. Switzerland deserved it. They got their chances. They took them greatly, and they get their spot into the next round. Again, huge bounce back from them, especially coming off that first game where they had so many chances, were not able to put any of them away. This game, they were extremely clinical. But now switching over to the other side where there's still a big spot to play for, that third place spot between Bosnia and Herzegovina and Qatar. On the flip side, both sides coming off of big losses, but with each team getting a point in their first games, this set up a massive opportunity. A win for either side would probably be enough for them to be one of the best third place teams to go to the next round. And no team understood this task more than Bosnia did. They came out absolutely firing as their 18-year-old sensation, Karim Alibegovic, scored one of the best goals in the tournament. Just an absolutely incredible effort from him. Again, 18 years old. How sick was that, man? Bosnia putting themselves up 1-0. And once again, they didn't stop there. Kolasinac running down the left, tried to fight Edin Dzeko in. Ball bounces all kinds of ways, including off of Mahmoud Abanada, the goalkeeper, and Qatar with the worst possible start they could imagine. They're down 2-0. And speaking of Dzeko, he almost could have made it 3, but his shot just banging off the post there. Bosnia very unlucky to not get that one. And that's a chance that they could have rued heading into the first half, with Qatar a few minutes later getting back on the board. As Emilson finds Heidos for the tap in, a greatly worked goal from Qatar. Best that we've seen so far from Qatar, and they're back within 1. And later in the first half, Qatar had to match Bosnia with another attempt off the post. This one being a much bigger scenario. This could have tied the game and completed the comeback heading into halftime and put Qatar in a great chance to potentially go out and win this one in the second half. Unfortunately, that was not the case, as Bosnia were able to hold on and put them away. 10 minutes left, Erman Mamic netting the third goal. Bosnia win 3-1. They earn 4 points in this group and again position themselves very nicely on the table. And speaking of the table, let's bring that in as well, with Switzerland topping the group with 7 points, Canada coming in a solid second place, with Bosnia just behind them on the goal differential part, and Qatar with 1 more point than they got in the 2022 World Cup, but still, no knockout stage for them. And in the end, this group played out exactly how I predicted. Let's see if that'll be the case for the next one as we move on to Group C, starting off with Morocco against Haiti. Now, for me, this was easily the game of the tournament. I'm sorry. This was such an entertaining watch, which is crazy considering that this game didn't really have too many crazy stakes. Haiti at this point were already knocked out of the World Cup, losing both of their opening games, and Morocco were really all interested in maybe trying to score some goals, try to compete with Brazil for that first place spot. But in the end, both sides just decided that they're just going to give up an absolute classic. Starting off with Haiti scoring their first ever goal at the World Cup. Lenny Joseph heading it on net. Would go down as an own goal in the end, but who cares? Haiti had the lead. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe what I was watching. From there, Morocco were just completely pouring it on, knowing sort of what was at stake, at least for them. Luckily for them, Achraf Hakimi running down the right-hand side, putting it on net, Morocco back level. From there, I kind of just thought, all right, the fun's over. Morocco got their goal. They'll probably get another one. They'll probably take the lead. And then all of a sudden, a moment of absolute brilliance from Wilson Isidore. I mean, what a strike. We've seen so many long shot goals already in this tournament. It's actually nuts. But that one is just unreal, man. That was sensational. The best goal of the tournament. I know I'm saying it so many times, but this World Cup, man, everyone's scoring long shots. Everyone's taking them. It's crazy. Wilson Isidore, man, take a lap, take a bow. That was absolutely brilliant. Haiti, once again, had the lead. Again, I couldn't decide what was more remarkable, the fact that Haiti were beating Morocco or of how it happened. But again, before I had any time to really sink in what just happened, Morocco just sprang back up, and it's that man again, Ismail Saibari. 3 games, 3 goals, Morocco back level. What a tournament this guy is having, man. He is looking like an absolute star in the making. Hakimi as well with a goal and an assist in the first half. It was just wild, man. In the second half, it was more kind of the same when Morocco were down. They were just trying to find those chances, trying to break through once again. And they finally do, with Soufiane Harimi striking in what would be the game winner. Brilliant from him off the bench. And then later on as well, Ghassim Yassine coming on to put Morocco up by 2. And at this point, I think Morocco fans were finally able to let out that huge sigh of relief, because this game proved to be a lot harder than they thought. Fair play to Haiti, man. Again, with absolutely nothing to play for, they came out and played their absolute hearts off, man. They did their country proud. They did their people proud. They had the lead twice in this game. And again, that goal by Isidore, unbelievable. Just unbelievable, man. That will be a memory stitched in Haitian football for years and years to come. They did themselves proud in this World Cup. And again, it's very hard circumstances. Obviously, off the pitch and on the pitch. They're in a group with Brazil, Morocco, and Scotland. But yeah, well done Haiti, and then obviously well done Morocco as well, persisting throughout the entire match, not letting themselves get down on it, getting back on and back on it. They were able to keep up that pressure and all those chances throughout the entirety of the match, as they pick up another win, positioning themselves to potentially win the group. But on the other side, that would be up to Scotland and Brazil. Brazil fresh off a dominant 3-0 win against Haiti. We're looking to try to do the same here today against Scotland, who for them the task was simple. Don't get blown out. However, they just couldn't help themselves. With Scott McKenna making an absolute mess at the back, Ryan pounces on it, and Vinny Jr. gets Brazil on the board less than 10 minutes in. Already his 3rd goal of the tournament as well. He is really silencing all of his critics that came in before that, saying that he wasn't that guy for Brazil. And he wouldn't stop there. 15 minutes later, another big mistake at the back for Scotland. Hendry takes a heavy touch. Vinny pounces on it, and he gets the 2nd goal of the game. Until VAR ruled it out, which, I'm sorry, how is that a foul? They literally show an angle of Hendry tripping on himself. That's what caused him to fall, not Vinny. So I'm sorry, that was just a ridiculous call from VAR. To me, that is the worst call of this tournament. The fact that that's given as a foul is just ridiculous. Even Hendry himself was probably surprised and relieved that that was called the other way. He didn't think that was a foul for a second. So yeah, that was just ridiculous. Vinny was robbed of a hat trick today. And I say that because in the closing moments of the first half, Vinny would get his 2nd of the game. This time it's Andy Robertson who forgets how to play football. Failing to pass it out, Rumars pounces on it, and Vinny is on the board once again. Just typical Scotland stuff, man. Having an opportunity like that and throwing it away. And early in the second half, Brazil would go on to add a 3rd one. Mateus Cunha, his 3rd goal of the tournament as well. It's the same guys popping up for this team, man. Just insane. Great vibes from Brazil. Once again, they take a 3-0 lead. A lead that was safe enough for Carlo Ancelotti to bring on the main man himself, Neymar. Just so great to see him back donning the iconic yellow Brazil shirt. And honestly, he was fine. My expectations for Neymar were kind of low. The only good thing that could really come out of this, besides obviously if he scored or assisted, was him just making it. Him making it through that 90 minutes, no injuries, no nothing. That's all I was asking for, and he delivered on that. That's enough for me. But his performance in general as well also pretty solid. As the tournament goes on, we'll see how much of an impact he can make for this Brazil team. But speaking of Brazil, great stuff once again. Bruno Guimaraes, really good standout performance from him in midfield. Rayan coming in on right wing as well, replacing Rafinha and doing very well on that side. Just 19 years old. He's already starting for Brazil. Just crazy. Mateus Cunha as well. He is the answer to that striker position. I know the calls for Endrick are still looming large, but could you really argue otherwise with how Cunha's playing? And of course, Vini Jr., he's the star for Brazil. He's already on 4 goals in this tournament. He's in that golden boot race as well. And for Scotland, once again, they will be very lucky if they can get themselves into that third place tier of teams that can make it to the knockout stage. They certainly did not help themselves with this performance today, and it pretty much falls on them. They were the ones out there making all those mistakes. Again, they were lucky to not go 4 down with that Vinny one that was called a foul. I'm still pretty frustrated by that, even though, again, I'm not a Brazil fan whatsoever, but that's just ridiculous. Vinny could have had a hat-trick in this one. He could have been tied with Lionel Messi for the Golden Boot race. But yeah, for Scotland, this is kind of how I saw their tournament potentially ending. Again, they did well in their first game. They won that against Haiti. Good for them. But again, it was going to come down to those 2 games against Morocco and Brazil. If they were able to survive one of those 2 games, then they could be fine. The Morocco one, they obviously came very close on that one. But this one was just, yeah, one to forget. As we close things out looking at the Group C table, Brazil with their back-to-back 3-0 wins able to bypass Morocco in the standings after both those teams drew in their first game in New York. Scotland, as mentioned, in 3rd place, however, with a -3 goal differential. Going to be very tough for them. And Haiti walking away with 0 points, but without a doubt their heads held high. Great stuff from them in this World Cup. And again, this group played out exactly how I thought it would be. I said Brazil and Morocco would draw their first game and it would come down to which teams would get the better results in their other 2 matchups. Brazil understood this and they took care of business in both their games, not conceding a single goal. Morocco, on the other hand, they definitely have some things to tighten up on, especially that defense. Let's see if my pedigree can keep up for the other groups. It probably won't, but yeah. Anyways, that is going to be it for day 14 of the World Cup. We got through 1 6-game slate. We have 3 more to go. Big one, obviously, today with Ecuador trying to save whatever tournament they have left against Germany, as well as plenty of other action throughout the day. Again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for daily World Cup content. And hopefully by the time I talk to you next or by the time you see this, Latry would have done the impossible against Germany and make it to the round of 32. You heard it here first. Let's play football.